Hello again this week. So what are we doing? Well, we're taking the shelf that Paul found on the side of the road, kind of our thing that we do. And this particular very sturdy metal shelving unit was actually over a toilet, I believe. And what we're going to do with it is we're going to take off these filigree design things here, and we are going to add some wood shelves to the very sturdy piece, metal shelves here, and then we're going to add a couple of wooden shelves down here, and it's basically going to be a place to stock our non-perishable items down in our basement, like a little pantry shelving. Let's see how it all turns out.
So here I have some pieces of wood from an old table I picked up. Some nice solid planks here, so I'm going to rip them down to size and I'm going to use them as shelves for our new shelving unit. These other pieces are too small or too narrow, so I'm going to have to piece them in.
today I'm doing some crafts. It's fall and that feeling is in the air of wanting to do crafts. So I'm going to start with these toilet paper tubes. I did cut a couple in half and I kind of went ahead of the game. I probably should have showed you, but some of them I left a little bigger. But basically what I did is there's where they are when they're up. And I just cut little pieces, like little scoring, I guess you would call it. I scored it a little bit with the scissors and then basically do a few squares of those and then you push it down and you'll get this more rounded shape. So I did that and I'm going to wind this yarn and this twine as well, and I'm going to try to make some little pumpkins. They won't be perfectly round, they'll be almost square shaped, but I think it'll be really fun. In fact, I did leave one end here so I can show you. I forgot about that. So I'm just going to show you doing every few inches, just scoring with the scissors. Try to get them as even as possible. It's okay if it's a little wonky. The whole point is to give it little character, so I don't need it to be perfect. So I'm going to do that, and then we basically push them down. So some will be much smaller than others. And then you have this little rounded piece, and we're going to twine it around. So I wove it around and around and around, and at the end, I just kind of pulled a little bit from the back side, and that little string hanging at the end, I kind of tucked it in a couple times and kind of wove it around and knotted it. And then I hot glued it just to make sure it's secure in place. And I'm going to just cut a little bit of that end piece off. So now it should be nice and secure, and you've got this little circle. It almost looks like a napkin ring. It's kind of woven together. A couple times I had woven it a little on top of each other just to give like ridges like a pumpkin. You don't want it to be perfectly flat the whole way around, just so it looks a little more rustic and authentic like a pumpkin. So what we have here is we have kind of like a napkin ring, but we have a hole on each side. So what are we going to do with that? Well, I'm going to show you in about a couple of seconds here what that is. But basically we just wove it around the whole tube. We hot glued it in the very beginning to start it off, and then I just kept weaving it and weaving it and weaving it around, and then that kind of holds it in as well. I will warn you, if you don't have little finger tabs, which one of these days I have to get, if you don't have that, use something. I use scissors and just kind of push it down. That hot glue is very, very hot. But when you get to the end, like I said, that little piece left, try to weave it inside on the inside of the pumpkin and try to knot it and then hot glue it down. And there you go. There you have a little thing. And just get as much material as you can. Always go a little bit more than you think you need, so you won't have to go and weave it again. You could if you had to, but this way you don't have to worry about that. And there you go. And we'll show in a moment. Once I do all these rest of them, I'm going to show you what we're going to do in the center of these. So once again, at the end here, you don't want to have many gaps, and I want to kind of give it some ridges like a real pumpkin. So I'm going to go around again, just in certain spots, and just get those empty where it's showing through, and also to give it some ridges and thicken it up. So I'm just kind of going around because I do have some extra. If I didn't have a ton extra, I probably would rethink that, but I'm just trying to create these little ridges like a pumpkin has, and then cover up those spots as well. Okay, and then when I get to a point where it's like, okay, well, I think that's where I want to be. Like I said, when we get towards, so I have this long piece here, I'm going to weave it through one more time, and then while it's inside, I'm going to pull on a spot that's a little, on the inside that's a little maybe loose, and I'm going to pull it through to help knot it, and then I'll kind of pull it again, try going to do it one more time to get like a good thick knot. And it will knot somewhat. You can just kind of pull and tug on it, and it just gives it a tighter closing. Okay. I'm just going to cut some of it now. And then I'll reinforce it with a little hot glue to make sure that it stays. Remember to use something, folks. This hot gun has definitely burned me in the past, figuratively and literally burned me, and it hurts. So I use something and whatever's on hand, but I really need to get those little finger protectors. And there we go. So there's two of them. We've got a white one and a rustic twine one, or I should say jute. And we're just going to figure out what to do with the bottom next. But again, I want to do these for these couple more, and then we'll have cute little pumpkins. So now we're going to put little toppers. I was originally going to do a stick of some kind or branch, but then I remembered I had a bunch of these corks. So I save these from every wine bottle. I've been saving them for, oh gosh, probably 20 years now in a large hurricane vase. So what I'm doing with this is I'm going to stick this, I'm going to glue that in, and look how cute that is. Maybe just squeeze a little bit of the ends to the height that you want. And then you're going to see it a little bit on the bottom, and you'll see it here on the top sticking out like a little stem. Yeah, you will have a logo, unless you're lucky enough not to have one on the cork. But I think that's okay. I think that's kind of cute. Gives it a little interest. So just for a little added touches here to make it even cuter, I'm good if that's even possible. I'm going to add some moss around it, kind of give it a natural touch there. You know, it helps to cover these gaps too, when you have a gap here and there, so just gives it a really nice, more rich and natural look, but also it covers those gaps and helps everything stay together more. You can go all the way around, you can, you know, just go through some of it. Maybe I'll leave that one not all the way around. You can change them up too. You can make as, I mean, I may keep making these because I'm really enjoying these. I'm going to put a little bit on the stem too on that one, just to kind of do something different. Just so they're all not cookie cutter. They're all just slightly different. So I got these leaves, this package of leaves from the Dollar Tree. A pack of a bunch, I don't remember how many. But I'm just putting a few of them on here. I didn't want sprays. And I'm not going to hot glue it or anything because I want to change it up for the season. So, and I like it generally just plain. But for certain seasons, I like dressing it up and changing it up. But hopefully this stays for the season. Just trying to find a space where I can tuck it in. Let's move these a little bit. There. Just a simple touch to make it ready for autumn. So you see this little tree here growing in the rocks. This is one of Paul's favorites. It's a birch tree, and we've cut it down many times. It always comes back. It honestly is in a very strange spot where it's growing in between the rocks, but it does provide some shade. It is a very dainty and pretty tree. Unfortunately, it will get too big, so we do have to keep cutting it down every so often. But in this case, in particularly, it's kind of working great for a project that we want to do. So I want to make a autumn themed tree, in our home. So what we're going to do is cut one of the branches down, and we're going to take the leaves off and cut what we can that we don't want. I will leave some branches on, and we're going to use faux autumn leaves from the Dollar Tree. We got a pack of those for $1.25. We've already put some into a wreath to make it autumny. And now we're going to use the rest of them for this branch. And we're going to do some cool stuff with it to put in the living room. So let's get started.
That'll be a foot and a two.
So Paul, now that we've trimmed the branch, he's going to place it into a planter, plastic planter that we no longer want. It's falling apart, and we're going to basically cement it into that little bucket, that little planter. And it's one that's really flimsy, so we can rip it apart once the cement has cured. We're going to give it probably a day, but we'll check it in so many hours to see. And he's going to mix the cement mix with the water and pour it in, and then we're going to put it in the shed so the wind can't knock it around. It's not super windy, but it's windy enough where we want it to stand straight up. We're going to give it a cement block, a cement base, so it'll stay straight. There's no other real way to prop it, so we're going to do that, and we're going to kind of tie it, the tops of it, in the shed to keep it straight up. And then once it's all cured, we're going to rip the planter away, and then we're going to place it into a basket with some moss and put some faux leaves on it and really dress it up. But this is the next step. Be careful, especially on a windy day. That is a very powdery cement mix, and it can get into your lungs, so you definitely want to stay away from the downwind, and you want to do it outside always. But basically you're just stirring it in really well. Don't mind the messy shed, folks, but we have it in the shed now. Paul has tied it up here and propped it. We have a little pole there, and he's propped it, and in the sheet hanging, this is like a makeshift movie screen when we watch movies outside, so don't mind that. It falls down a lot. But we have that pole there that it's attached to. We have it kind of attached there, so we straighten it the best we can. I kind of like that it has a little curve to it, and there's no way to really straighten it too much where the bottom's not curved weird. So that's the best we could do with it. It is fast acting, the cement, so you really have to kind of act somewhat fast. But now it's a little cardboard on the bottom because it had holes on the bottom, and there's the planter right there, and it hopefully will set by tomorrow for this video. And then when it's totally set, we're going to have it in a basket or bucket or something, we're not sure yet, and then I'll have something around it like moss or whatnot, and then we'll have faux leaves on these branches, and hopefully it'll look really nice wherever we decide to put it. I'm assuming the living room, but we'll see as we're decorating. So now we're cutting the pot that the planter, the cheap plasticky planter that the cement was hardening in.
Easier than I thought it would.
And then we have our concrete base all formed now. We're going to just brush off the top. And we're going to carry it inside. It's a little off center slightly because we wanted to straighten it, but we didn't mind a curve at the top so much, but we wanted it to be centered right. So to do that, we had to have it a little off center on the base. Okay, so now we're going to hot glue. Apply that for a second. Let's go here. So I know if you can get someone to do this with you, it's great, because it really does need 2 hands. One to kind of pinch it with pliers or some sort of device, a clamp even, for a few, you said you count to like 20 seconds?
Something like that, yeah.
And you need someone to hot glue and kind of direct it, and the 2 of you can discuss, like, does this look right here, but, you know, mainly for someone to do the gluing and the other person to kind of...
It's very helpful. I wouldn't want to do this myself.
Thank you, it's very helpful for me. This little branch here, we're gonna go next.
It goes a lot quicker too.
It
so
does.
You can be doing that while I'm doing this. You know.
Yes.
So,
Right. There, kind of, yeah, going downward. Just be careful. And never stand directly under it. You don't want that hot glue to end up burning your eyeballs. Nobody wants that. Now I have 2 packages. They're $1.25 each for a package of 50 loose leaves. You don't have to get loose leaves. That's just, it worked out easier for us. What I did is used it for other projects. So I had probably 35 left in one, and I bought another 50. It really depends on how full you want it. I just wanted a little more full, so that's why I'm going into more leaves here. We're gonna go here. Let's go upward maybe. Oh, you can leave the glue strings hanging if you want it to look cobwebby for the Halloween.
Right.
I personally do not, so I'm just kind of grabbing, because hot glue does make a stringy action here. I know there's some spots, I'm just trying to decide where I want to go. Might be more full on this side, so maybe I can focus on. Let's go maybe right here. You see that little branch there? Okay. We're just kind of wrapping it up here to see where we want kind of the finishing touches of everything. So what do we think? Should we add more, or do you think we're good?
I love it.
I think I'm happy. There are some bare spots, but here's the thing. I might sit with it for a little bit and go, hey, let's add a few more leaves. But I think right now it's good because it's fall and we want to have it for the whole fall. And somewhere at the end of fall, we're not going to want to see a ton of leaves on it. You want it to look like most of them have fallen off. So I think this goes well with the look. And there you have it. So we had, like I said, we had 2 packages of leaves I used for various projects. On one bag, it was a 50 count for $1.25, and another bag, another 50 count bag for $1.25. So even though it was $2.50 for that, one of the bags I used for 3 or possibly 4 different projects. The tree here was a branch from a bigger tree, and our birch tree, and it couldn't be colored better. It couldn't be any more perfect than it is, and that was free. The cement we had on hand, mix it with water. The pot, the planter is like something we bought. I think we bought a hydrangea in it, so we kept that. Keep your plastic planters, folks, your plastic pots that they come in. And that was perfect for this because it was very flimsy, so we literally could cut right through and it cut right off. Perfect form of the base, and that's the base. So it was not even 24 hours. This was late afternoon yesterday, about 2 or 3, and so mid to late afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m. Yesterday, and then here we are early afternoon now, and I think about an hour ago. So till noon, we had it going. So not even, so it's like an overnight and a little more than that. So not even 24 hours, folks, but almost. And we were able to cut the base about an hour ago, around noon. So under 24 hours, you've got an instant tree. And again, with the leaves, the whole cost of this, because we had the cement on hand, cement is like $5 a bag, folks, if you get a small bag. So, and you just put on some crappy clothes that you don't care about, you mix it with water, let it sit overnight in a real cheapy plasticky pot that hopefully you saved and have on hand, and bam, you've got a tree with some fake leaves. So this whole project for us personally was under $5 because of the 1.5 bags of leaves from the Dollar Tree. And we're gonna put it in a planter. I would have liked a woven basket. That also ups the cost, but I use what we have on hand, and I'm gonna show you the basket in a second. But again, that was free, but I think I'm gonna look for a better basket as time goes on. Now it goes into touching the curtains, and I kind of like that. I like that it has a natural feel. It's not perfect in any way. Look at that, and it's in that basket. But what I'm gonna do, and this is a basket I had on hand. I would have rathered a tighter weave. I would have liked a different type of basket. I will keep my eyes out, but this is what we have so far. I'm gonna tuck some brown craft paper in brown paper bags, and then I'm gonna put like a moss on top of it so it looks a little more natural. This isn't to keep it still, this is just to hide that there's a cement block there. Alright, and then we're going to put some moss. Now I had sheets of moss at one time and I can't find them. These are green velour little chair covers that you would have just like to protect the arm of your... I had these around for the longest time. They were from my grandmother's. I'm going to tuck these in for some of it, but they do sell sheets of moss. But I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to have some loose moss on top. I didn't want to do a ton of that because boy is it messy, but if I have a chance I will clean it up and maybe get some sheets of moss. But thank you, Paul. So this loose, we're going to see how it goes. If it seems particularly messy, I might change my mind. You will need to clean this up at some point, especially when you're weekly cleaning. And it'll give it a little more natural look than a piece of green fabric. This is just what I had on hand right now. I was going to do that, thank you. I'm definitely going to need to vacuum after this. And again, if you have the option, go that extra mile and get the sheet moss, which if I recall, they did have it at Dollar Tree. At least at one of my Dollar Trees they had it a long time ago. And I would imagine they still do. If not, I imagine a Hobby Lobby or Michael's, someone would have it. Then I have some loose leaves, and I'll just throw it around. It might help cover some spots, but also it looks more natural, like it fell off the tree. What do you think? This is how it's naturally going to lie, so this was the best way. So we're going to have it on this side. I'm just kind of seeing where I want each one to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not measuring it out. I kind of want it to look a little bit more natural, but I'll kind of have an idea somewhere in this range. This is centered out of the center of it. It's somewhere in this range. We're going to have it. I'm just measuring with my fingers. I'm not doing it with a tape. It's a little wider on the ends, but that's okay. I kind of like the way it's arranged.
It's time to drill the holes. I don't have a spade bit that's wide enough for these, or a Forstner bit, so the best I have is this hole saw. It's not ideal because it's going to leave the plug of wood in there, in the log, but I'm going to try to chisel it out later after I drill them. Wanted to give it a somewhat smooth feel. We do want some of that rustic roughness, but and it can't really get in there inside the cut holes for the tea lights. But we are just getting it smooth on the ends,
which I'm fairly happy with. But I want to leave some of the character. So that was just so no one gets hurt dealing with it, and also so it cleans it up a little, not too rough. So now I'm going to place it in here in my bin. Let's get these tools up out of the way. I'm going to place with a little water. I'm going to have Paul handle the bleach because I don't want to get it on my clothes. He's wearing pink clothes. We're going to pour a pretty good amount of bleach in there. Yeah, that's what they try to pour it on us. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to pour some more water in there. Okay, and then I'm going to put some salt in here, a little bit of salt. Some baking soda. So all of this is going to give it a coloring of a little driftwood color, hopefully. That's the hope.
And kill any insects?
Yeah, I was getting at that, yeah. And then kill the insects as well. My thought is maybe kill the insects too, but I think mainly it was to get that coloring of like driftwood. But I'm pretty sure bleach and baking soda and salt will also kill insects, I would imagine. Also, soaking in water should smooth it out a little bit too. So anything that we didn't sand, even like the inside there, it should kind of smooth it out a little bit is my thought. Okay, so we're going to let that sit. It is somewhat floating, Paul said, and I think he's right. It is. So we don't want to put anything to weigh it down. So I think what I'm going to do is every so often just have one of us come out and turn it so it gets every part of it, because we want it to be the same color throughout. So I think, I don't know, maybe every hour we'll just flip it, hoping that it works by flipping it. If it doesn't for some reason, we may have to have something, maybe a board or something to hold it down. We don't want to do anything that would discolor it. So maybe some kind of board or something, or a neutral colored stone or something. But I think that's what we'll do. So I like how this turned out. I definitely bleached the wood, so it's giving more of a driftwood appearance. But what I'm gonna do is just maybe do a little whitewash, and I might even come in with some stain just in case. So we're going to whitewash this and see how it looks. And the reason I'm doing that is because we have some elements of sap. Even though that's probably, in essence, probably cool, I really want to kind of mess with the coloring a little bit more. So you can just go with this, and right now it's a cool look. I'm just gonna also, I feel a little better that maybe it's sealed in a little better, just because it was from the outside. I want to kind of seal it in. So we're gonna whitewash it, maybe a little stain, maybe I'll see how it turns out and how I feel about it with each step. I'm just sealing in the edges. It's kind of, again, this is just to seal it up and give it more of a finished look. It's not necessary, folks. It really does have a really cool look to it. And you do want to dry it as much as you can after being in the water, but I'm just kind of going over it quickly. And like I do even with regular wood, I'm just going in and kind of wiping after I do it. We're just trying to maybe hide the fact that it might have a little sap that kind of went through.
Honestly, the sap almost looks like bird poop, so I didn't want people to think it was bird poop on there.
It is not, but yes, that people might think that. You can actually buy things like this in places, but what's the fun in that? If you live near, if you have it, obviously if you don't and you want to do something like this, you can actually buy faux branches or dried branches. I shouldn't even say, they're not really branches, they're actually really big, thick I guess it's a branch, isn't it? Log of some kind. But if you're lucky like we are and you can get it in your yard, or if you live near the woods and it's okay, you have the right to cut things a little bit if it's near your property or on your property, then great, you should do that. But, and I prefer that personally. I prefer doing it myself. And we're lucky, we're very blessed to have that. But some of you may not be able to or want to go through the trouble, and you absolutely can just buy it. You don't need to go inside, but again, I just want to seal it up maybe a little bit. It's the extra protection against insects and sealing it in so it's protected more. It looks a little more finished too, maybe. And like I do with furniture, I'm just going in with the stain. And just wiping it on with a rag and then wiping it off almost right away as I do certain sections. And I'm not being particular to get every spot on there. You don't have to dip it in the stain every time. There's enough usually on there to do different sections of it. And at the end, I'm just kind of doing a little white over it. And with my stain rag here, I'm going over that again, just so it gives it more of that feel, that driftwood feel. You just keep doing it till you're satisfied. You can blend it in well. It's okay to see a streak here and there because it makes it look more realistic with driftwood. What do you think? So I have it sitting on a rag right now, just while it's still a little damp. Now remember, we had it soaking all night. I let it dry somewhat, started the driftwood painting experience situation going on, and then I put the tea lights in, but I wanted to place it just so you could see it, and I'm going to show us putting it on to see how cute it looks when it's lit up. And these were from Dollar Tree, a set of 3 for $1.25. I had the stain and the white paint, and then this was from our woods. So all in all, $1.25 for this project. Minus the rag that it's sitting on, I think it looks really cute, but that's with it on. Also, what I love about these tea lights is they flicker like a fire, which is really cute. 3 of these for $1.25 from Dollar Tree. So I picked these up from the Dollar Tree. There's one here. I wish it had like a stand, but the bigger one doesn't. But the smaller ones do. But what I'm going to do is create a haunted house, and they'll be somewhat staggered like this. They sell a haunted house on Pottery Barn, and I love it, but it's very expensive. So I'm going to create, Paul's going to make me a wooden base, and I'm going to paint this black, the wood cut out of the house, and each of these were $1.25. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to add some ghosts. I couldn't find any at the store, so we're going to make wooden ghosts. And I bought a pack for $1.25 of 4, I think it's 4, maybe 5 skeleton on a little string. So I'm going to cut the string and we'll put those around, and we'll make a little haunted house to display. I was having a moment of, should I keep it like this, because it kind of looked neat and a little spooky with it half done, half not. And I kind of like it, but I think I'm going to paint it all black. It is kind of cool. If I wanted to do it again in the future, I might do something like that. Just looks dilapidated and old and kind of spooky. It should only need 1 coat, but I'm going to see how it goes as it's drying. So far, so good. We're going to paint both sides. For now, we're just doing that one till it dries. I'm going to paint the top base, but I'm not doing any of the undersides or sides, the edges. It's just too much to do. This one I'm going to try to do both sides now. Because of these little cutouts, I almost want to do a little dry brush after, just to make sure you don't have too many drips. If there's a drip here and there, in this particular case, it might be kind of cool because it might look like a spooky thing. Maybe not. I mean, don't take advice from me. I am very messy. But every now and then I just go with a dry brush and try to get anything that's dripping the best I can. So the paint is dry and we needed the big part of the house to stand up. So what we did is we added some, it's a very thin, almost like Luan, it's very thin plywood. So what we did is we made a slit on 2 different sides and used pieces of Luan, little squares, to kind of go through it so it would help it stand. So made a stand of some kind so it can stand up. And then we've got, it's on a base. It's hard to tell on our wood table. I don't know if you can see it, but this right here is a Luan base. We're staggering these, so it almost has like a 3D effect. And what we're going to do is paint the base and those little pieces to use to stand up the big house. We're going to paint this whole thing black so it kind of looks like one big unit. And then we're going to hot glue these pieces to that. And then the fun part is we can decorate the area with some cool, haunted, scary, spooky things. So I think actually we're going to hot glue it first and then paint it. I'm going to not have this on camera because I don't want to scream onto the camera. I have burned myself quite a few times, so we're going to omit that just in case I burn myself again. Paul has nominated himself as tribute to help me with the gluing process. I may take him up on that. Paul found these little branches that he was going for a walk, and I asked him to keep his eye out so if you can see them, they're so teeny and dainty, but you literally can take it off of anything. Another branch, or we had like blueberry bushes. And where did you find these actually?
From our spirea.
From our spirea, look at that. And they're just dainty and tiny. And Paul found at the bottom of here, he took this size, don't mind my terrible nail polish coming off, but Paul found a bit that would fit that, and he did a little tiny drill bit with that drill bit into the actual base of here, and he's placing that tree there to be sure, but we're going to glue it in to make sure it stays.
I think my drill bit was too big, too small. Alright, I'm going to size up the bit.
Okay, so the point is to get a bit just about the size of it. So we're going to keep trying till we find the right bit. We're going to glue the end of it, and then stick it into that hole to keep them in place. And then he had built these cute little, out of Luan, again, our favorite product. These little crazy ghosts. You don't want them perfect, you want a little out of the way, a little crazy. We don't have a jigsaw or anything real, or a scroll saw, anything that will do this shape really perfectly, but he did kind of a rough cut, and we sanded it down the best we could. And this teeny little block that he made out of wood to go on the back here, we're going to glue that. I'm going to paint them white. We're going to stick this on our haunted house scene. We have 2 of these.
Okay, we're good now.
Perfect. So I'm going to put a little dot. Be very careful of your fingers. Do not touch that hot glue if you can help it. It's okay if we get a little bit wonky because that's the whole point of the haunted house. And then we have 2 hopefully spooky looking trees. I'm not sure if you can see it in here, but
one.
okay, so now we're going to glue on the pieces. Which side I want, I think that's the front. And I'm going to glue this side of it. And also a little on this part.
And push it all the way to the bottom, yeah.
I'm going to hold it there for a second, trying very hard not to touch the glue itself. Okay, so they can stand. We'll clean some of that glue off later, but if you have some strands, try to wait until they're really dry. And they do dry pretty fast before you touch it because it is very, very hot. Okay, so now we're gonna take these over and go paint. We're going to glue this whole ghost to the base of the haunted house, the bottom, so I don't need to paint the bottom. I'm going to do a pretty good job even on the back because you'll see it from the back at certain angles. I'm just going to do one side first, let it dry for a few minutes. So we've placed our little skeletons, so it's a pack of 4 attached to like a jute string, like a garland. It's $1.25 for the pack of 4. And what we're going to do is we place them where we wanted them, and now we're going to glue them on to the haunted house just to secure them. Be very careful, Paul. This hot glue is like deadly. Not quite, but dangerous.
Is that all right like that?
Yes. I should have grabbed one of those popsicle sticks so you could put pressure. Paul's being kind enough to do the glue on this because there's so many little holes and whatnot. I really got a serious burn like a week ago, less than a week ago. So I
forget where he was. Was he on this side?
Not messing around. Yeah. So I'm not messing around with this glue. He's very helpful with this part. All right, look how cool he is. Look how cool that is. I normally wouldn't worry about the edges, but here, because I want it to look ghostly all over, white all over, I am going to pay attention to the edges. Little details like that can make a difference. You don't think so as you're first doing it, but you can pay attention to those details more and more as you're looking at something. You want to make sure you get every part of that. And with a dry brush at the end, when the paint starts to dry on the sponge brush, just kind of do a quick once over, especially because you'll get little drippies. Trying to do a heavier coat. It may need a second coat, but I'll see as I go along. And just doing another coat on the back, but just on the main parts of it. It's not totally dry, folks, but next time, if you're more patient than me, do it when you have it dry. I'm just impatient because I have other things to work on and lots to do today. We're already thinking of our next week video, so I'm getting into that while the weather is decent because, hint, it's an outdoor thing. I'm going to put little eyes on the ghosts and then we'll be complete. I've used everything from these marker pens to Sharpies. I know I could use paint, but I'm being very lazy today. So I'm just kind of using this marker pen and just darkening it up. It won't be black, but it'll be kind of like a gray, but maybe that'll make it spookier. So just paint a little face on the ghosts. It's somewhat juvenile, but I think it's really cute. So we're just placing this haunted house that we made up on the top bookshelf here. We wanted something for this little spot. Actually, we're going to move those pictures, I think, for now. And there you have it. A little decor for our game shelf here in our office. I really like how it came out. Now, all of this was somewhat inspired by what I've seen from other YouTubers and also what I've seen, mainly what I've seen in the Pottery Barn catalog. Very expensive to buy it through Pottery Barn. And a lot of people have had a lot of great ideas. This particular idea was inspired by another YouTuber, so I didn't come up with this on my own, but adding the elements that I did, I've decided to do instead of just the house. I really, really like the fake trees from the branches. I really like the skeletons, and I love the cut ghost. I wanted it to be cutesy and a little spooky. I didn't want it gory. So this is, you can do whatever you want, whatever your style is, but have fun with it. This was so much fun. It was so affordable. Like I said, each little building, the 2 little small houses had a foundation, and then the bigger one did not, but Paul had just made little slits and some pieces of luan to kind of hold it to stand up. Plus, those were each $1.25 each. The group of skeletons was $1.25. The ghosts were from luan that we had laying around, so that was free. The branches were free. and we had the black paint and the white paint. So all in all, for our cost in particular, just so we could break it down so you know what everything costs, this whole thing cost $5, folks. Now, obviously, if you don't have the paint, or you wanted to buy ghosts because you found that was even cuter, or you didn't have little pieces of luan, you can use any wood. I just liked it because it was thinner. We had little pieces of wood that we could cut even smaller as a backing for the ghosts. All in all, for us in particular, it was $5. But again, for under $10, you can certainly make this yourself. A big difference when you know that Pottery Barn is, I don't know the price exactly what it is. It's absolutely a full house with walls, but it is very, very expensive. And this is a great option. If you've been with us for a while, you know that we had done these. We had gotten free downloads and had them printed up from CVS, and we picked them up, put them in, and they were instant photographs, some instant artwork for kind of a gallery wall that we're starting. We're being slow about it and doing a little at a time, but we're happy with this for now. But this is a summer look, and we're going to change them up for fall. And we'll keep the summer ones behind it. It's a great inexpensive way to add artwork to your home. See here, we are ready for fall with our artwork. We kept our owl because we felt like he was just as special and sweet in the fall, if not more so, than the summer pictures. Crazy week, dear.
Good week. Got a lot done.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hey there.
So, what did we accomplish? A lot. I'm going to try to remember because we literally started after the last video, and I'm not talking about the quick video we did of the wreath. Last week, we started a whole bunch of stuff. We started your shelving.
Yep.
So, you found a
free shelf, side of the road, and I made some wooden shelves to go on it using other free materials. That was from an old table, an old oak kitchen table that we had found, again on the side of the road. So that's a free project that came together really nicely. We could store a lot of pantry overflow products there.
Most things we agree on, but this one was like, oh, I don't know. It's an over the toilet shelf, and I was like, I don't know about this one, Paul.
It's a solid piece. It's heavier than it looks.
It was a lot of them are flimsy, but this one was really solid, and with the wood on it, it looked great, and it was very bulky in that area. If you remember, if you've been with us for a long time, you would remember that we had redone our laundry area, our laundry room, it's great. And we had this big armoire that we bought from a tag sale. Beautiful story. Was a wonderful situation. It was a woman who built it herself while going through cancer. It was a great story. I hated to get rid of it there, but it was so bulky and it stuck out where it made a narrow, it made a narrow opening. So if we ever wanted to move furniture or we ever wanted to do just going in and out of it, it felt closed in. So we decided to take that out, which is where Paul came up with that shelving unit. We had another unit where we make soaps and all kinds of things. So it was facing the other way, which is also taking up space. So we moved them together against the wall. It looks so much lighter.
Much more streamlined. Yeah, it really worked out well.
It worked out so well. So that was like a big task. We actually finished it today because we've been doing other things. So we have a lot coming up next week that we've been kind of preparing for outdoors. It's kind of our last. I mean, there might be a few things, but it's probably our last big outdoor gardening video because we're getting cooler now, we're getting into the fall, and that's usually when we move inside. And when it gets close to the end of a season, we're already thinking of this, like when it's maybe starting to get warm out, we're already like, okay, we're done with inside for now, we're going to start gardening. And we did a lot of outdoor things this year. I'm so thrilled. We have way more next year. But we're at that point where we can do one more video really before it gets too cold to do things. And then we're going to start moving inside. So we wanted to tackle this because I wanted to do some decorating for fall, hopefully inspire you, get excited. I wanted to show what we had for decor and also make some Halloween crafts. I used to love crafts, I still do, but I'm not as into it as I used to, so I want something easy and fun.
Right.
But I wanted it to be exciting. I'm kind of done with overly decorating things, so this was just a couple of little touches here and there. So we did that.
And the tree came out great.
The tree.
That was exciting. I really enjoyed that project. That was
favorite craft.
Yeah.
For this episode, but honestly, in a long time.
Yeah.
So much fun. It came out great.
It
looks
easy.
Realistic.
It was pretty easy.
It was so
really.
easy.
And the cost, was it $2.50? $2.50 for the leaves?
$2.50.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was so great. I really enjoyed it because we had everything else on hand and it was just really, really fun. And it looks so pretty in the living room. I will show you by the end of us talking here, you'll see, stay tuned and you can see all the pictures of how everything turned out. We have we're down in our finished basement right now, and we have kind of a messy situation where everything's kind of like an organized chaos. Nothing is really in a great place right now. We have that armoire we just talked about. One of the knobs broke off, a glass knob. It's kind of in a corner where it's not going to stay. We're trying to figure out our storage. That's going to be an episode coming up in maybe a couple months where we're going to tackle that closet. Another closet where we're going to put a lot of those things and probably sell the armoire. But it's kind of crazy down here, but we have future plans for here. We're kind of taking it a little step at a time, budget-wise and also
time-wise and energy-wise.
For our sanity, because it really takes up a lot of your energy. It really does. So that's going forward. But I will show you what I can of what is not crazy messy. I think that was it. Crafts, the shelving unit, and the tree. I'm sure I'm missing something. Oh, and the little Driftwood-Style Candle tea light holder. We love how that came out. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to stop talking because I enjoyed it so much this week that I just want to tell you every detail. You already saw it. What do you need me telling you for and narrating it? But thank you so much for joining our channel.
Please like and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. And stay tuned for next week. We've got some exciting stuff happening, right?
Yes.
It's going to be great.
See you next week.
See you next week.